The US, Russia, China, and Turkey have all sent top diplomats to a total of 14 African countries in the month of January alone. The recolonization of Africa is well underway. Good day and welcome to Unsanctioned News. My name is Moses Yemo. Let's begin. Remember in my introduction video when I told you all about the recolonization efforts in Africa by the US-led West, China, and Russia? It all sounded like I was blowing things way out of proportion, didn't it? Well, these recolonization efforts have become so glaring over the past month that even the mainstream media couldn't help but take notice. But rather than calling a spade and a spoon, the mainstream media chooses to sugarcoat it all, centering only upon the immense riches Africa stands to gain in terms of trade, neglecting totally to talk about the hidden agenda behind this sudden flurry. Take a listen.
What do the US, Russia, China, and Turkey have in common? They all sent top diplomats to a total of 14 African countries in January alone. So what's behind the sudden flurry of visits to the continent? Well, Russia's nearly year-long war in Ukraine has increased Africa's diplomatic weight. The US is leading Western powers in seeking more support from African countries in condemning Russia. 19 countries abstained during the last UN vote on the war. But millions on the continent have been indirectly affected. Ghana, for instance, has been pushed further into recession, while food supplies in drought-hit Somalia continue to dwindle. US representative to the UN, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, was in Kenya, Ghana, and Mozambique to sustain a united front. Meanwhile, Russia sent Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov to Eswatini, South Africa, and Eritrea, which have all remained strong allies of Moscow throughout the war. Another reason for the visit is to boost trade. Lavrov personally invited some African leaders for the second Russia-Africa Economic Summit scheduled for July this year. At the same time, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen toured Zambia, South Africa, and Senegal to reinforce deals from last year's joint summit, where Washington pledged $55 billion to the continent. The US is also worried about being overshadowed by influence from China. In 2022, Beijing canceled loans for 17 African countries after accusations by the US of entrapping the continent in debt. China's new foreign minister, Qin Gang, also expanded infrastructural projects in Benin and Ethiopia. Meanwhile, Turkey is not being left behind. Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu toured 5 countries and said Africa will be prioritized to receive grain and fertilizer to offset shortages from the Ukraine war. Turkey has steadily grown as a security partner, providing drones to Niger and Mali in recent years. So what does all this mean? Whatever the end game might be, Africa will continue to play an important role in shaping global diplomacy as well as political and economic shifts in 2023.
There you have it. The aim here as always has been to divide and conquer. The US-led West, Russia, China, and Turkey seek to divide Africa into factions under their respective control and influence. It is no news that tensions between the United States and Russia has soared over the years due to the Ukraine conflict. Meanwhile, relations between the United States and China has deteriorated over Taiwan and the shooting of the Chinese spy balloon. It may interest you to know that even within NATO, relations between the United States and Turkey, a NATO member, hasn't been great due to Turkey's blockade of Sweden's accession bid into NATO. If Africa allows itself to be divided between these factions, then they will most certainly drag Africa into their heated rivalry. The way forward for Africa is to put up a united stand to be able to survive this onslaught.